Hi, and welcome back to my returning viewers. As requested by you guys on my last Warbond video, today I'll be covering the Chemical Agents Warbond, which is fairly controversial, so I'll just get this out of the way early. This is all my opinion. If you enjoy this Warbond or dislike this Warbond, that's fine, and regardless, I ask you all to try out the weapons in this video before fully forming an opinion if you have the chance. But with all that out of the way, let's get on to the video. This is How To. So starting with page 1, we probably have the most underwhelming batch of content here, with it only giving us the gas grenade and the Noxious Ranger set. To be honest, I don't really even like the patterns in this Warbond, so I'm not even going to bring them up here. They're all dookie. Page 2 is slightly better, with us finally getting our first weapon in the form of the Sterilizer and the full Hazmaster set. While the Sterilizer isn't the best, it's nice to finally get a proper weapon out of this Warbond. Finally, page 3 is most content dense, with having the rest of the hideous mustard pattern skins, the stim pistol, and the gas guard dog, which is far and away the best thing in this Warbond, but we'll get into that later. Now that I'm done listing the contents of this Warbond, let's get into the details, starting with the armor. As you'd assume, the armor sets in this Warbond are specifically made to counter gas-based attacks, and due to Super Earth being the only faction in the galaxy that has gas, this is mainly just to reduce friendly fire damage and allow you to play more aggressively around gas, which does indeed have its uses. For example, there's a reason why gas and fire is such a common combo, because both allow each other to play fully into their strengths. Flamethrowers often struggle on bugs, so the hunters jumping through your flames or enemies having high enough health just to tank the fire and ram you. Gas solves these issues, but the stratagems that mainly cause massive clouds of it typically don't allow you to get close to the enemies so you can actually burn them. But with gas armor, you can just tank the damage and actually get up close, fully maximizing your damage potential. Now, just like with the fire resistant armors, the heavier a gas resistant armor is, the longer you will survive in gas due to the increased health. Now that we have the armor passive out of the way, let's move on to the actual offensive capabilities of the Warbond. Starting with the Sterilizer, this stratagem weapon when it comes to actually killing things outright is straight up pretty bad, with it just being a downgrade from the base flamethrower if you want to use it in an offensive way. However, this weapon is more so meant to be comboed with another weapon, and as such, it isn't the thing you should be letting do the killing. Using it with a solid primary or secondary like the Scorcher can be insanely effective, and even without comboing, the Sterilizer is still extremely solid, as the amount of enemies you can make a non-issue after just spraying them for less than a second is insane. On top of that, if you avoid friendly fire, your team will thank you, especially on chaff-heavy fronts like bots and squids, as keeping those enemies disoriented can be a big help. On less chaff-heavy fronts like the bots, it really struggles to find a place in the weapon ecosystem due to its limited range and less enemies that are greatly affected by gas. Sure, they might get distracted, but most bots have some sort of AoE or mass volley ranged attack, so it's only going to help you so much, and that stratagem slot could be better used on any other stratagem weapon. Moving on to the second main offensive part of the Warbond, the gas guard dog is way more versatile, with it being one of the guard dogs that chases after its targets. It also has the added benefit of saving up a stratagem weapon slot for anything else, thus making it overall more versatile. This makes the guard dog better on bots than if you were just to run the Sterilizer, as you can bring some sort of AT or heavier hitting weapon instead of just leaving the rest of it up to your team to bail you out of those kinds of situations. It also makes comboing the gas easier, as you don't need to go out of your way to weapon swap, and can combo with much stronger weapons. Honestly, the gas guard dog kind of removes the point of the Sterilizer in my opinion, but that's a topic for another day. Getting back on track, the guard dog is a great option for anyone who simply just struggles with being swarmed. Up next is an underwhelming one to talk about, but still nonetheless useful. The gas grenade is another stalling grenade option, and while the gas doesn't stun as much as, well, a stun grenade, it does last longer and it lingers, meaning that you overall are stunning way more enemies with a gas grenade than if you were to use a regular stun. The grenade can also kill lower health enemies like scavengers and troopers, so while still not as good as a stun grenade, it does have added lethality, on top of its overall longer duration and wider coating of its effect. While you do miss out on having just raw explosive firepower, if you are bringing a stalling grenade, you likely already plan on bringing something else to deal with the mobs of enemies or larger units, so I won't exactly hold that against the gas grenade. Overall, it's a very solid pick regardless of faction. I did forget to write in the script here the stim pistol, so just in general, the stim pistol is just extremely underwhelming, in my opinion. It needs lock-on aim for it to actually be useful in a hectic firefight. So as much as I want to recommend it, overall it's kind of just underwhelming. I'd honestly say it's worse than the Sterilizer. Speaking of factions, I think it's time to finally tell you guys how this Warbond does on a per faction basis. And if you've already watched my videos, or really anyone else's videos, you know that we will be starting with the Unbugs. As you can guess, this Warbond shines with just how many softer enemies there are, and with fire being extremely common, not only is comboing even easier with randoms, but also most enemies are outright killed with the gas, making it actually have somewhat decent lethality when compared to how it fares on other fronts. The main standout piece of kit for this front is the gas guard dog and the grenades. I didn't mention the Sterilizer, as while it's good, as I've already said, the gas guard dog just kinda does its job better in my opinion. Overall, an extremely solid Warbond for bugs. I'd recommend it for any bug stomper. 4.5 out of 5. For bots, as you can already tell, this Warbond's main gimmick is, well, not as good. While yes, gas is still great for throwing off their aim at higher diffs, the raw volume of fire means that unless you're lucky, you will likely be getting tagged by a shot or two. However, for taking on smaller automaton units before they can call in a drop down, it really shines, especially the gas grenade, mainly due to it not sacrificing your AT capabilities in exchange for the gas effect. And honestly, for bots, you're better off just going with the orbital gas strike if you really plan on using gas. On squids, the Warbond is back to performing a little better. The voteless, while tougher than your average bug, could still die quickly to gas, and flesh mobs can get thrown off mid-charge, making dealing with them less stressful. The softer enemies also bring the sterilizer back to being viable, but it's still overshadowed by the guard dog. The gas grenade is solid, and comboing with fire is pretty safe to do, as all fire weapons are pretty popular on the squid front. Overall, pretty solid. Not quite as good as bugs, but still solid. I'd rate it a 4 out of 5. Overall, I'd recommend this Warbond if you're looking for something unique and just like using gas. But if you're looking for something meta or something that is a mainstay in your kit, then I'd honestly avoid it. While the weapons in here are viable, they aren't the best, so I'd get a few core Warbonds before diving into this one. Thank you guys for reaching the end of this video. I know I didn't upload last week, and honestly that's because the bigger video project that I've been just working on in the background has reached such an insane length and just overall scope that I kind of just missed working on these Warbond videos, and I will be returning to these for the foreseeable future, as working on a massive video project like that is just so much to handle. But that also means that I'll be back to uploading weekly, so hope you guys enjoy the new content that will be coming out. Anyway, I'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.